Tonight, people taking in scenes of destruction in their neighborhoods as a wildfire continues to burn out of control in Southern California, and thousands remain evacuated from their homes.
Just put things in God's hands. If everything is burned, then so be it. Things can be replaced.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. There is some encouraging news from the front lines of that wildfire tonight as evacuees are waiting to find out when they can return home. Santa Ana winds are dying down in Malibu, and that's helping firefighters slow the spread of the Franklin fire. But the improving weather conditions did not arrive soon enough for many, as the fire has destroyed at least 7 buildings, some of them homes. More than 8,000 homes and other buildings remain threatened by the flames tonight. This fire has now grown to more than 4,000 acres in size. Many people who were allowed to return to their homes today say they feel fortunate.
It was kind of spooky to know if you're going to come back and there not be anything here. But fortunately, you know, they stopped it, and you can see, if you walk right over here, I mean, they stopped it right at the park. We got lucky. We got real lucky.
Fox's William LaJeunesse is in Malibu, where this fire is 7% contained tonight.
We're far better off this morning than we were in the last 30-plus hours.
A break in strong winds is giving more than 1,400 firefighters a shot at containing the fast-moving Franklin fire in Malibu. The blaze sparked late Monday and grew significantly overnight. It is now nearly 4,000 acres and could keep growing.
Weather conditions, including strong winds and low humidities, will be closely monitored today, as they will play a critical role in fire behavior.
The break in weather allowed crews to make progress at containment lines near Pepperdine University. Flames were all but gone near the school, where 800 students were forced to briefly shelter in place.
It was definitely a little scary at some points, but I think it's pretty under control now.
The fire danger is not over. Nearly 20,000 remained under evacuation orders or warnings, including celebrities like Cher and Dick Van Dyke. And while so far no one has been hurt, the fire damaged or destroyed more than a dozen structures.
This is still an ongoing situation. Stay alert.
Officials warn that flames are burning in very deep and rugged terrain, making it difficult for firefighters to reach. The weather remains unpredictable, and residents need to be ready to evacuate at a moment's notice.
Make sure you have all your items ready to go. Medications, important paperwork, or anything that you need to sustain you and your family for several days.
The cause of the fire remains under investigation. In Malibu, California, William LaJeunesse, Fox News.
All right, joining us now to talk more about the weather conditions there in the fire zone and what we can expect across the West, KTVU meteorologist Mark Tamayo. Mark, obviously they are catching a break here as those Santa Ana winds are dying down in the fire zone.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. Things are trending in the right direction and no longer a red flag of fire warning in place that expired earlier today in Southern California. In fact, as we take a look at the one site in Malibu, yesterday we had winds gusting to over 30 miles an hour at this time. Right now you can see winds in the single digits. It's still relatively dry at about 16%, but definitely those strong Santa Ana winds have been decreasing. What's interesting now, though, is we actually have, with all that smoke being produced, an air quality alert in place right on through tomorrow morning. There's a chance that could be extended as well. We'll see how the overall the conditions improve throughout the day tomorrow. In fact, up to the north, in Northern California, in the Bay Area, this rain, there's a slight chance of some rainfall making it down in Southern California, but this will really target Northern California and the Bay Area. The first is several storms approaching the coastline, and the rainfall estimate through Monday, you can see really adding up in portions of the North Bay. Coastal hills could be approaching 6 inches. So right now on the satellite and the radar, some more action on the radar to show you for tonight. In fact, the coverage increasing right around Eureka, right around Cape Mendocino, approaching the North Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area. And also, as you can see here, some more coverage moving into portions of Oregon. This was Seattle today. Temperatures in the lower 50s, some breaks in the cloud cover throughout the day. In San Francisco, a bit of some haze out there, 61 degrees this afternoon. And then in the Phoenix area, partly cloudy skies and temperatures at 71 looks very nice for an afternoon high earlier today. Showing you this, the rainfall projections, and as you can see here, it's been a fairly quiet weather pattern for California, but look at this rain really approaching or really developing up in Northern California, and also some rain in the forecast for Portland and Seattle. So here is the game plan for tomorrow. Rainfall makes a comeback for Seattle. It's a cold storm. Temperatures only in the 40s. In fact, you have a couple systems out here in the Pacific. Periods of rain for San Francisco, a sun-cloud mix for Denver, and then it looks like just a slight chance of a shower for Los Angeles, about a 20% chance, and then a sun-cloud mix out toward the Phoenix area. So here is the forecast model. This is tomorrow afternoon, Thursday, and that rain line still somewhat of a factor here. And also in the Sierra, they do have a winter storm, winter weather advisory in place, I should say. This is Thursday, 8 p.m., and then we're watching this next system come on board for Seattle, for Portland, and also for Northern California. So take a look at the forecast over the next 3 days. It's rainy for Seattle for Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. For San Francisco, one system comes on board tomorrow. Another one wants to come on board Friday night and into Saturday. So that's where the rain and the snow is focused. But if you want the dry weather, we have that as well. So you can see some just some upper 60s and lower 70s for Phoenix with partly cloudy skies. But thankfully, Alex, as we talked about, those strong Santa Ana winds have been decreasing. That's a good sign for the fire crews and the residents in Southern California.
Yeah, certainly some good news for them. Mark, thank you. We have an update tonight on the Hawaii woman who disappeared in Los Angeles, prompting a massive search and a police investigation. Today, relatives as well as police announced Hannah Kobayashi has been found safe. Investigators have previously said Kobayashi voluntarily crossed the border into Mexico from California. Kobayashi vanished last month after missing her connecting flight at LAX, and concerning text messages to her family prompted them to report her missing to police. I talked about these latest developments with TMZ's Michael Babcock.
We thought she was okay. The family believes she was okay, but to actually have had that contact is clearly a big step for the family. There's still a ton of unanswered questions. It's not even clear whether or not Hannah knows about the death of her father, who came out here to Los Angeles to look for his daughter, and then seemingly just distraught with grief, took his own life.
Hannah's father, Ryan Kobayashi, flew in from Hawaii to take part in the search for her. He was later found dead in a parking lot near LAX. The LAPD says it has now wrapped up its investigation into Hannah Kobayashi's disappearance. Tonight, New York prosecutors are building their case against the man charged in the killing of United Healthcare's CEO. The suspect spent time living and working in California. The NYPD says it has linked the ghost gun found on 26-year-old Luigi Mangione when he was arrested in Pennsylvania to shell casings at the Manhattan crime scene. And investigators recovered a notebook that seems to shed light on a possible motive. As KTVU's Jesse Gary reports tonight, some are expressing sympathy for Mangione's reported health struggles.
Not long after Luigi Mangione was cuffed, his walk into custody also proved an ascent into notoriety.
Communications online, particularly social media, can kind of give us an idea of where the public is at. And I don't think anybody can dismiss the fact that there are, divergent opinions on this murder.
While most Americans horrified by the shocking death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson December 4th, a demonstrative minority is flooding social media with words of support for the accused shooter, Mangione. This site, which we won't show, solicits donations for Mangione's legal defense fund, adding, "We are not here to celebrate violence, but we do believe in the constitutional right to fair legal representation." The site spokesperson says via email, its mission has been to provide a platform for people to raise support during challenging times, regardless of their circumstances.
Anonymous people or somewhat anonymous people have a lot of distance on social media and things like that. They're not actually, being in the room, if you will, with the perpetrator or the victim.
It's shocking to hear that some people are supportive of Luigi Mangione. Jury nullification is always a possibility, especially when it has caught the jurors' attention and it is very popular.
Societal support for alleged criminals isn't unprecedented. Al Capone and Bonnie and Clyde were notorious for committing crimes and murders in the 1930s, but were still revered by some Americans for fighting against the system at a time of social strain. Mangione seems to follow suit, but now with the advent of social media.
Everybody nowadays has a bullhorn. I mean, everybody. So anybody can say whatever they want on social media, and in some respects, the more outrageous and the more provocative, the more likes and hits and shares you get.
Experts say the free-for-all, that is freedom of expression, enhanced by social media well beyond anything we saw decades ago, is weakening the social compact and weakening the ties that used to unite us. In San Jose, Jesse Gary, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
She's in there.
Okay.
They're trying to grab her, but she's on the floor right there. And they can't.
A daring rescue here in the West, and body cameras capture the entire thing. See what it took for police officers to get a woman out of that burning home. Also, uncertainty in the EV market. We'll take a closer look at what car makers are doing as President-elect Trump calls for changes that are sure to have a significant effect on the industry.
Just try to grab her dishes right here. Look, you can see her. She's still alive, man.
Newly released body camera video shows police officers rescuing a woman from a burning home in California's Central Valley. This all happened Sunday night in Fresno. By the time police got to the scene, a neighbor who tried to rescue the elderly woman inside had already been overcome by smoke, and he got out on his own. Officers eventually pulled that woman out through a window. The cause of that fire remains unclear tonight. A new ruling by Montana's state Supreme Court means a law banning gender-affirming care for transgender minors will remain temporarily blocked. The justices agreed with a lower court judge who found the law likely violates the state's constitutional right to privacy. This case will now go to trial. Montana Attorney General Austin Knudsen says he is looking forward to defending the law. Parents of the plaintiffs in this case say the law violates their right to make medical decisions for their children. In Washington, detectives arrested 7 men during a recent undercover child sex trafficking sting. Body camera video from the Renton Police Department shows the arrests. Investigators say they contacted the men through text messaging and social media platforms, posing as underage boys or girls. One of the suspects had a previous conviction for raping a child.
So for the overall investigation, we start with that dialogue. We make it very clear multiple times that the person is speaking to a minor, whether they're 13, 14, or 15-year-old male or female. And then that dialogue leads to what we call an offer and agreement.
Detectives say another suspect was an assistant principal with Seattle Public Schools. He has since resigned. Other suspects were charged on counts including commercial sexual abuse of a minor and communication with a minor for immoral purposes. Tonight, the Mexican consulate in Seattle is stepping into the controversy over workshops designed to teach immigrants their rights. Fox 13's Alejandra Guzman reports tonight that at least one of those workshops has been canceled over online backlash.
These sessions have been going on for over 60 years. It's not new.
The first Know Your Rights session was held in 1965 by the ACLU, yet hundreds of people quickly shared their thoughts on X, saying this was an obstruction of justice by the Edmond School District when they scheduled their own, saying they were aiding and abetting those in the U.S. illegally. Head Consul of Mexico in Seattle, Héctor Iván Godoy Prisques, says the backlash represents a troubling trend of misinformation.
This is hysterical screaming and screeching. This is an online mob. It reminds me of the satanic panic of the 1980s.
Its effects have led to real-life consequences. It's not just a canceled informational session. It's lack of critical information about civil, sanitation, and labor rights.
I'm working overtime. How do I make sure I'm being paid for my overtime hours? How many bathroom breaks do I have a right to? I've been arrested. What rights do I have? What are my Miranda rights in the United States?
This is particularly vital for immigrants in Washington state, who is the largest recipient of H-2 visas for temporary guest workers, the thousands of people who work in agriculture and dairy farms.
This is proper diplomatic work that we're doing.
Despite the cancellation, demand for Know Your Right sessions has surged. The head consul says this is just a testament to the work they are doing, and a few bad actors will not impede on anyone's rights.
Since we can't stop doing these informational sessions, because there's a lot of people who don't want to be intimidated by an online mob.
Advocates are committed to continuing their efforts and empower immigrant communities.
So what's at stake is prosperity. it's peace, it's orderly, it's being orderly. That's why we have to combat this misinformation.
Again, these are rights that every single person has here in the United States, regardless of their immigration status. But safety remains the priority here. So the Mexican consulate says it's preparing to host its next Know Your Rights session. This time it's going to be online. Those details are still being worked out. So we'll let you know as soon as we have them. In Seattle, Alejandra Guzman, Fox 13 News.
And in Southern California, the San Diego County Sheriff is defying a new policy meant to limit cooperation with federal immigration authorities. Yesterday, supervisors voted to prohibit the Sheriff's Department from working with ICE agents, but Sheriff Kelly Martinez says the board does not set policy for her office. She put out a statement that says, in part, quote, current state law strikes the right balance between limiting local law enforcement's cooperation with immigration authorities, ensuring public safety, and building community trust. Federal prosecutors say a Chinese citizen used a drone to take photos of Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. Yinpiao Zhao was arrested at San Francisco International Airport Monday before boarding a flight to China. Investigators say they found several aerial images of Vandenberg Space Force Base while searching Zhao's drone. Taking that type of photo is illegal. Base security agents say Zhao, who's a lawful permanent resident of the United States, had a drone concealed by his jacket when they confronted him in a park just outside the base last month. Zhao has been charged with failure to register an aircraft, not providing transportation, and violation of national defense airspace. If convicted, he could face up to 4 years in federal prison. Activists opposed to the death penalty gathered today in Arizona, looking to address concerns about executions and transparency practices. Fox 10's Lauren Clark is in Phoenix now with more on the issues that activists are focused on.
The state of Arizona has a bit of a complicated past when it comes to capital punishment, including a botched execution back in 2014 that caused a condemned prisoner to gasp for 2 hours before he finally died by lethal injection. Regardless, capital punishment is popular both nationwide and here in Arizona. A Gallup 2020 poll showed that 54% of Americans supported it. However, advocates here today say they have serious concerns.
If there are flaws in the system, the last thing the governor should be doing is pushing forward to kill people before those flaws are fixed.
Outside the Capitol on Wednesday, a group of advocates shared their concerns for the death penalty's likely return to Arizona. It all started with Democrat Katie Hobbs as running for governor. Back then, she said executions would only happen in the state if they could be done humanely. In 2023, she appointed retired Judge David Duncan to conduct an investigation into the state's procedures. He was later dismissed from his role. Earlier this week, Governor Hobbs told our cameras she had concerns about his report.
I appreciate Judge Duncan for the work that he's done, but it became clear in the process that he was just not up to the task. And just one example of that was he started saying that we should execute people by firing squad, and that is clearly unconstitutional.
What's wrong with Arizona's execution system? A lot. A lot is wrong. And she doesn't like the answer.
Jared Keenan with the ACLU says Judge Duncan's outline report talks about execution drugs being stored in private homes and more.
Outline of the report refers to correction officials researching the use of drugs on Wikipedia prior to performing an execution.
As long as it is the law of Arizona, and I don't believe that it's unconstitutional, we are going to carry out the law.
Last month, Democrat Attorney General Chris Mays announced she will seek a warrant of execution for Aaron Gunches, convicted for the 2022 murder of Ted Price.
That family has been waiting 22 years to see justice done.
But Katie Gibson McLean with the Arizona Attorneys for Criminal Justice called the move by the two Democrats a political ploy, motivated by future elections.
Just another page out of the party's playbook to try to pander to independents or maybe moderate Republicans.
An assertion.
This is ridiculous.
Mays rebukes.
There's no pandering going on here. We engaged in a very thorough review of the death penalty, and frankly, I think that's offensive to the attorneys inside this office.
Mays also pointed out that her office said executions could resume in 2025 back in May. We have more in-depth analysis on this issue on our website, fox10phoenix.com. Reporting here in Phoenix, Lauren Clark, Fox 10 News.
And we also have a link to that analysis on our website. That is westcoastwrap.com if you want to take a look. Coming up tonight here on the show, flight attendants walking picket lines in the run-up to the holiday travel rush. Tonight, what the airline workers say it will take to end this action. Plus, see what car makers are doing to convince more buyers to go electric as the industry faces an uncertain future. Flight attendants with Colorado-based Frontier Airlines walked picket lines all across the country today. The demonstrations took place outside 5 airports, including Harry Reid International Airport in Las Vegas, as those flight attendants are calling for better contracts and improved working conditions. A spokesperson for Frontier says the company is, quote, actively engaged in negotiations with our flight attendants under the guidance of the National Mediation Board. President-elect Trump has suggested he may eliminate federal tax credits for electric vehicles, and that has some automakers reevaluating what the future looks like for EVs. Fox 10's Steve Nielsen took a test drive in the Phoenix Valley, which has become a hub for the EV sector.
Right now, I am driving one of Ford's newest vehicles, but my hands are off the steering wheel. My foot is off the pedal, and we're driving just fine.
In a Phoenix parking lot, Ford executives show off their latest and greatest in electric vehicles, the F-150 Lightning and the Mustang Mach-E. While nationally, Mach-E sales have grown and Lightning sales have lagged, Arizona is one of their best markets.
We're up 49% in sales in Arizona alone on this vehicle year over year, and our F-150 Lightning is up 33% in Arizona.
Stacy Ferreira with Ford's electric vehicle division called Model E took me on the test drive of the Mach-E.
Here we go.
Showing off Blue Cruise, the self-driving mode.
All right, we're getting to the fun part. We're about to get on the highway here.
With a push of a button,
I'm good now?
You're good. So you can let go, Blue Cruise on.
Wow. It's kind of scary when you first move your hands away.
The impressive tech comes at a precarious time for the electric vehicle landscape. Automakers are trying to lure consumers that are resistant to the tech. For Ford, that means offering buyers free at-home chargers and free install.
And for everyone that does it, they know it's super simple. It's just how do you get someone who's never done something before over that hurdle of, well, I'm not sure about that.
Our state has invested heavily in EVs with Lucid and Casa Grande and Nikola and Coolidge and battery makers all around. Arizona has bought into the EV tech. But the incoming Trump administration has suggested scrapping the $7,500 tax credit for EVs. Economists have said it could plummet sales.
Is Ford concerned about that?
Yeah, so I would say if consumers are interested in getting an EV and they think they can take advantage of the tax credit, they've still got time in this calendar year to go get that.
Behind the wheel, the car goes 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. We tested that on an on-ramp.
All right, let's do it. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Stacy says Ford is fully committed to their EV lineup, no matter the politics in D.C.
I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see what's going to happen next year. So I would say if you want one, now's the perfect time.
Steve Nielsen, Fox 10 News.
Yeah, uncertain times ahead for the EV industry. That does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching. As always, have a great night.